Hello and welcome to Pillars of Eternity. My name is Edbot, and welcome to my channel. I started this channel to help promote my 25-hour live stream that I will be doing in October for Extra Life, which is a charity program that helps raise money for local hospitals, or hospitals all around the U.S. I guess that's my introduction. Let's start on a new game. I'm gonna set it to easy just so that we can fly through the combat really quickly and get to the meaty story bits, because that's what I'm interested in here. So if you're looking for a walkthrough or how to beat this on I don't know, the hardest difficulty on expert mode, this is not the place for you. Sorry. But a little bit more about my stream in October. I will be hosting it as the DM and running it with several friends of mine. It will all be original content set in the Eberron setting of D&D. If you're familiar with the Eberron setting, that's good. If you're not, I'd highly recommend looking into it. It's a very interesting and unique setting. I like to put it like... My example I usually give is that it's like if Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones had a baby, that baby would be Eberron. There's a lot of cool intrigue and like... I believe it's the setting that coined the term fantasy punk.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern is only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Okay, so that's how we set up the scene, and let's move on to character creation. Fair warning, I have played through a good bit of this game, not to completion, but this will not be a blind playthrough, so sorry about that. So the first choice we have to make is male or female. I think I'll go with male this time. Now we get to choose our race. We have human, which are standard humans. I assume you know what a human is, based on the fact that you are watching this video and understanding my language. If not, then, well, that's good for you. Good for not being human. Aruma, which are kind of like aquatic... Well, that one kind of looks like a Navi, not gonna lie. Big blue person. But there are giant aquatic folk that are commonly found near oceans. Dwarves. Standard fantasy dwarves. I'm sure that we're all familiar with them. Elf, same deal. Standard fantasy trope. Orlon, that's an interesting one. These are kind of like wild, similar to halflings in like stature and like physique, but in Pillars of Eternity, Orlons are split up into two categories, two sub-races. Hearth Orlon, which are like civilized Orlon who are essentially slaves to the larger folk, and wild Orlons who live in the wild, and generally resist the outside world. Then we have the Godlike. Godlike are people who were born with certain traits. In this case, there's a giant crescent coming out of his face. He's a moon godlike, or a lunar godlike. I don't remember the exact name. And yeah, they've got special powers like there are death godlikes and fire godlikes and nature godlikes and stuff like that. This time around, I think I'm going to play a godlike. I'll just let you show there's the death godlike, so kind of gross tentacly, no, not tentacly things, but you know, that's pretty gross. There's the fire godlike, which are pretty badass. They are on fire, as you can see, and as the name implies. Moon godlikes. Yeah, we saw this before. Giant crescent sticking out of his head. And nature godlikes, big horns and shrubbery coming out of his head. I think this time I'll play the death godlike. And then we get to choose our physique. This doesn't affect our any stats, but it just kind of shows our size. So we can be wee little Orlon death godlike, which I think I will go with. There are a variety of classes to choose from the small barbarian, who is angry all the time and wants to hit people, the chanter, who sings a lot and hits people, the cipher, who reads your mind and then hits you in the face, the druid, who turns into animals and then hits you in the face. There's a theme of things hitting you in the face, because that's how combat works in Pillars of Eternity. I think this time I'll go with Paladin, just because it's so jarring to see like an honorable knight of, but also, you know, a horrifying abomination and scion of death. Just think that's funny. So now we get to choose what Paladin order we're from. I'll give you a quick description. Bleakwalkers are essentially, they're cruel and aggressive paladins who are interested in finishing the fight as quickly as possible. They're like often seen with like fear, and while it makes sense for this paladin to be a Bleakwalker, I want to make it so it's like a surprise. It's more interesting that way. Darkosi Paladini, are essentially paladins from that serve Old Valania, which is like a they're passionate, clever, but they have a love for life. Is basically their thing. Gold Pack Knights are essentially mercenary knights. The Kind Wayfarers are an order of knights which are kind of serve as dual purposes, guides and knights. And Shield Bearers of Saint Elga are diplomats, honest and diplomatic, but never cruel or aggressive. I think I'm gonna go with a Kind Wayfarer, just because that seems the weirdest to be a death godlike from. With Lay on Hands, which there's Lay on Hands and Flames of Devotion. Flames of Devotion increases your damage and turns some of it into burn, and Lay on Hands just it heals the target for a certain amount of endurance. So now let's put stats in. Resolve, let's say 16. Might put 2 in. Okay, so let's see where we're from. Adir, which is like the main continent, the main empire, which will boost our resolve a little bit, which could be useful. There's the Deadfire Archipelago, which consists of the nation of Nasiktak, and dozens of Aruma settlements and lots of pirate-infested islands that we don't talk about. The Ixamel Plains, which are kind of like a kind of like the Heartland. They're filled with farms and Orlan. Old Valenia, which is what the paladins of the Knight Dracosi, or Dracosi Palladini, serve, or at least they used to serve, which is an old empire that has long since collapsed and is now nothing more than a bunch of merchant nations that war with each other. Runetai is a nation dominated by mostly by the Aruma, but there are also several smaller nations that fill up the Gulf. The Living Lands are like a series of hills and valleys filled with very varied plant life and animal life. The weather is super unpredictable. It's a very hostile place to live. And then the White That Welds is basically a large polar waste, just filled with colonies of explorers and outcasts. There's no plant life here, and there are many species of dangerous animals. So it's basically the South Pole, but, fantasy South Pole. I think I'm going to go with the Living Lands. That just seems interesting to me, and it makes sense for like our Wayfarer to be sort of a guide for people who explore it. And let's say he's an explorer, because that makes sense. Okay, now let's just pick a head. That's kind of gross. That's really badass, and I'm gonna stick with that one. Find an appropriate portrait. Oh, I passed one. There's one that's got a helmet, but it looks pretty close.
Well, now I am the leader of the group.
Okay, I like that voice. This voice sounds like it would come from this guy. Let's go with the name Barzeel. It's a nice fantasy name. Nice, strong fantasy name. And yeah, we're on our way. Unfortunately, I'll have to stop here for the video, but join me next time as we start Pillars of Eternity in earnest. Thanks so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!